Outrage in Chicago after an inspector general report found that employees of Chicago public schools spent millions in COVID relief funds on luxury hotel stays for out-of-state conferences, limo rides, spa visits, and overseas trips, all while taxpayers were footing the bill. At least $18 million was spent on travel not approved between 2021 and 2024, and as a result, CPS has since frozen nearly all employee travel and launched an investigation. Here to discuss this and more headlines is President of Accuracy in Media, Adam Guillette. Good morning to you, Adam. Great to see you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This report, mind-blowing, especially when you consider schools there faced a massive multi-billion-dollar budget deficit and laid off hundreds of employees this past summer just to fill, some of the gaps there. This isn't criminal, Adam. I mean, if it's not criminal, what is it? When you consider COVID relief funds are going to these luxurious overseas trips.
The one I saw this morning that stood out to me, $175,000 visiting a recording studio with a swimming pool in Albuquerque. Because the kids can't learn if the administrators don't get to go to a recording studio in New Mexico. We have to stop pretending that these school systems exist to educate the public. By all objective measures, they fail at this task. Instead, it's institutionalized corruption where they take our tax dollars, enrich the fat cat unions, and funnel that money to far left candidates. They fail at the task of educating, but they succeed at corruption and indoctrination.
Yeah. Meantime, 83% of third graders in Chicago's public school system can't even read at grade level. The Inspector General said this level of corruption was systemic and really, as you mentioned, a part of the problem is unions. Should an organization or institution with public employees receiving federal funds be allowed to unionize?
Absolutely not. As recently as FDR, the left was against allowing public employees to unionize. Because how can you negotiate with the people who gave you money to get elected? All it does is breed corruption and essentially breeds a monopoly. The left always claims to dislike monopolies like what they say Walmart or Google or Apple are. But those companies have competitors and they get high marks from their customers. These schools, you're forced to pay for them whether you like them or not, and they get terrible marks by all objective measures. At the very least, states should stop collecting union dues on behalf of the unions, but really we need to end public sector unionism as we know it.
Yeah, and they talk about monopolies all the time when they're talking about the private sector. But if you lack school choice and your customers are suffering as a result, and that's all there is, how is this not a monopoly in its own right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the only product we're forced to pay for, whether we use it or not, whether we like it or not, whether or not it's hostile to our views. We're forced to fund corruption. And to your point with the COVID bailout funds, any elected official who voted for those bailout funds now should be outraged. Instead, they're looking the other way because they don't want to remind us the waste that they brought upon us.
Another story that's been in the headlines is the deceptive editing of President Trump's January 6th speech seen in this BBC documentary. There's been plenty of fallout from that, including two top BBC executives who had to resign, but it is proof that media outlets should not ever be funded by federal taxpayer dollars, period, because now defamation lawsuits mean that it is the taxpayers footing the bill. And you said America's NPR didn't do any better. What's your take on how they handled January 6th?
Yeah, they did the exact same kind of inconsistent editing that, we get accused of when we do hidden camera investigative journalism. Their selective editing, of course, consistently removed the portion where Trump encouraged those protesters to protest peacefully and patriotically. And the end result is we have two sets of Americans, essentially. Those who saw the facts from what happened and those who are totally in denial because they've never learned the actual facts of the situation and because they were lied to by state-funded media. No state, no governmental entity should ever be funding quote-unquote journalism.
President of Accuracy in Media, Adam Guillette, always a pleasure to have you on, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.